Hello, and welcome to Temple of the False Pod, where decks are not optimized but are plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy, and that's it. It's just me. How you doing? We like to play Magic here, specifically the social format of Commander, but we also like other things that are fun. Today I'm going to talk about whatever the heck I want. So Commander players. Well, any player, but definitely Commander players, listen up. We need to interact more. Speaking of which, like, comment, and subscribe. Or, share us with your friends or just mention us to passing strangers on the subway. Much appreciated. Thank you. But, in the game, right? In the game, we need to be playing more counter spells, removal, and the ilk. I promise you that you, or someone you know, using counter spells incorrectly, for your casual Commander pod. Counters, I have a complicated relationship, history with counters, but they are a vital part of Magic the Gathering, believe it or not. They may not feel great, hell, sometimes they feel awful. But more often than not, they're a perfect interaction that will add intrigue and decisions to the game. And I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. There are some players who will just counter anything and everything. These players are bad, and you should not play with them. And if you're one of those players, consult your collection, I guess. Swap out counter spells for more fun spells, such as this one. Cool but rude. Or this one, Entrancing Melody. See? Playing blue can be fun. So I guess first I should define what constitutes a counterspell within the context of this video. Spells that say counter X spell is a counter, obviously. Any spell or ability that takes an opponent's spell off the stack without letting it resolve, I would consider a counterspell. That includes putting into the hand. This means you remand or reprieve, or somewhere in their library, Aether Gust, Subtlety, or into exile rather than even use the words counter, spell, target, Gale's Redirection and Mindbreak Trap, Spring to Mind, Spring Trap. And sure, there are ones that let them play it again later, Aven Interrupter. And don't forget permanent-based ones like Hullbreaker Horror. While we're at it, anything that ends the turn would kind of technically be a counter. With what? You're countering the rest of that player's turn? There are so many edge cases and flavors of counterspell that I know I'm forgetting something. Comment your favorites down below. I know this sounds like I'm about to launch into why counterspells are bad and you should feel bad for playing them, and honestly, if this was 8 years ago, back when I started playing Magic, I might have. But as this game continues to evolve, the format has become a facade of what it once was. Things have gotten so focused on doing your thing and making sure that, if not interacted with, my Tower of Blocks is taller and stronger than your Tower of Blocks, and so therefore, I win. That's what it comes down to. My Tower of Blocks, my sequence of cards, is better than yours. I went on a little hiatus from the game of Magic, as we all do from time to time. And when I came back, it seemed like an interactionless safe haven, a desert of any sort of ways to deal with threats. And to do so, if you were to deal with those threats yourself, it would set you back and the rest of the table forward. But being the awkward new guy at the LGS, I was scared to play counters unless I absolutely had to. But I would never counter the commander. No! Why would you do that? That's so rude, I would say to myself. Or if the play was clearly what their deck was trying to do, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to not let you win. So I held up interaction. I wasted mana. These quotes here are going to be important. These quotes are going to come back all the time when I'm talking about wasted mana. You didn't waste mana. You bluffed the counter. Or maybe you had one. I don't know. Which now hearing that out loud, it's obvious I swung in a completely different direction. One that wasn't any better. Granted, I don't think it was any worse. Counter spells deserve to be cast with some sort of discretion. Understanding what you're countering and why is important. Sure. Don't counter everything, even if it means wasting. There's those quotation marks again. Wasting mana by letting some things pass. Things are allowed to happen in the game, and you're allowed to allow them to happen. You don't have to counter a thing just because it seems scary, just because it seems like it would be bad for you and your game. You can let things happen or not. Why you would counter everything, I don't know. Why would you want to do that with your mana all the time? It's like protection spells, right? Like, you're not going to play Heroic Intervention every turn. I mean, unless you have Isochron Scepter. Actually. Now, I'm not an expert in counters. Far from it, actually. But what I do have in those regards is knowing how I want to play the game. How I want my table to see me as a player, and ultimately keeping games within bounds where there's no clear runaways. Unless the game is currently ending, either now or in the next few minutes. If the game seems inevitable and you don't really have a way out of it, why wouldn't you just let the counter go by? If you have no way of winning and the person to your right is ostensibly winning, let them win. What the hell? So, I want to give you a couple examples, but to avoid the main few like Mana Drain, Force of Will, Daze, any flavor of cancel, might I recommend big mana ones. We have a whole suite of 5 mana counterspells. 5 mana is a lot, yes. But you can also usually tell when a big play is about to come up. Hold up 5 mana, and maybe it'll look like you're not like, oh, like I really kind of missed doing anything on my turn. Or you're holding up 5 mana for a couple counter spells. Or you're playing, I don't know, something that's got a bigger payoff. Anything at instant speed. But these spells, these counter spells, back to my point. These counter spells that are 5 mana, there's a whole swath of them. It's great. I love them. They're fun. They're splashy. They're funny. Ever hear of Broker's Confluence? It's modal. You're not wasting anything because chances are you want to do one of these things and you get to do 3 of them, or 1 3 times, or 1 2 times and another one. So I can counter your board wipe or phase out my best 3 creatures and everything else gets wiped away except those 3 creatures. Tell me that doesn't sound fun. Yes, the mana cost is wild. It's 2 and then the Broker's colors, whichever those are. But then you've got other ones that will give you things in return. We got Access Denied, Spell Swindle, where you get permanence equal to the spell's mana value that you're countering. Bigness, if you will. You get bigness on your board. So Access Denied, you get a bunch of Thopters. Insert correct token here. Or Spell Swindle, you get mana back. You get the mana that they spent on that spell on your board in treasure token form. It's amazing. Or you got some really cool ones with Hurl into History, Forceful Denial, and Desertion. Check those ones out. They get you another spell. Just completely another one. Whether it's a creature on the stack, so Desertion, you counter target creature, you get that creature if this spell resolves. So instead of it going onto your opponent's board, it goes onto your board. Forceful Denial, counter thing, you cascade 5. So you cascade 5 first, and then it resolves. Hopefully something awesome. In the very least, Something not great, but probably something your deck wants to do. Hurl into History, I think, is one of the cards that I wish I saw more play. You counter a creature or an artifact, something big, hopefully. Oh, counter a Bolas's Citadel, and then you get to discover 6. So it's essentially like Cascade, but you have the choice of putting it into your hand. Say it's an X spell, right? It's fantastic. All of this to say is that you held up 5 mana for this. You really need to pay attention to what you'll want to counter. And be okay not hitting the jackpot every time, because when you do, it's gonna feel good. But even when you don't, you're still being useful. You're still getting somewhat of a payoff. You're getting something in return. You're casting a spell and countering a thing is essentially what's going on with all of these ones that I had just mentioned. And what you have to ultimately remember is that you moved your game forward, whether it's by denying somebody else's strategy or saving your own plan, which is generally what you should be doing. Hopefully, you're doing it right. Now, to do it right, you have to understand what to counter. If it makes sense, counter the thing that they tutored for. There'll be times where you want to counter the tutor, but more often than not, it's just as easy to wait until they play that next spell, they commit more resources, and bam, you counter that. Obviously, there's some things that you'll want to counter the tutor, and you'll know when that happens, especially when it happens every game. People tutor for the same things in the same decks. Tell me I'm lying. Now, obviously, try not to counter their commander whenever they try playing it. Dick move. Not only is it a dick move, it's boring. It's boring for you. It's boring for your opponents. They're going to sigh real loud and get frustrated, maybe throw their cards on the table. But sometimes you'll definitely need to. There'll be times that you need to counter their commander, but like not letting it resolve outside of some very specific cases. But you'll know that at the beginning of the game, it's BM. It's Dookie. Don't Dookie. Moreover, counter when you need it. Not just because it was leading to a big play. It's possible they're just spinning their wheels. They're just trying to draw into something. And sometimes when they finally draw into it, they've got 2 mana left and they don't have any way to play that thing. So they spun their wheels and it's over for them. Waiting until it's something that is affecting you directly is when you should counter it. When it hurts you. Not when they just get minor card advantage. Wait until you're like, this affects my plan. And on top of it, it will make you feel better. Honestly, it'll feel fulfilling. It'll make you feel like you're not countering just for the sake of countering, because you got a counter spell in your hand that's 5 mana and eating a hole in your pocket like a goddamn moth larva. You get it. Presumably you're playing Commander to play this game with friends. Or if not friends, strangers you'd like to become friends with. Hopefully. I know that there's edge cases. I'm going to say this every 2 minutes. Hey, there's edge cases for this. There's competitive forms of EDH. I'm sure you've heard of it. CEDH. But what was I saying? I think the thing with playing this game, specifically Commander, in such a social and casual way, should emphasize to you that you don't need to be countering everything. And like, I know that this video is about playing more counters, but it's not an all or nothing. I know I struggle with the all or nothing clause of it all. And by it all, I mean everything. Everything. Good job, Andy. All or nothing, all the time. That'd be a good shirt. But obviously, winning can happen, and it should. You don't want to be throwing away the game just because you would feel bad about countering a thing. You're going to feel bad about not playing your cards too. And then you're going to start resenting your friends or the people you want to be your friends or the people in your community. And nobody wants that. Nobody. You don't want that. I'm telling you. Make your moves toward that finish line first. Sure, absolutely. But if you wanted to grind your opponent's will into the mud, play a competitive format, or even better, start cubing. Cube arc foreshadowing. Cube arc foreshadowing. Cube arc foreshadowing. And I mean, so like the more you use counters, especially in smart ways, the better it feels. The more comfortable you will feel denying spells. And rather than just anytime anyone does something, the better player... the more you use counters in smart ways, rather than just anytime anyone does anything, the better player you become, both in Magic and in Commander. I will always stress that there's a difference between Commander players and Magic players, right? Like, it's, of course, a subset, one of the other, but, like, to be a better Magic player is a skill difference. To be a better Commander player is it's a different set of skills. It's a social set of skills. It's a being okay with losing set of skills. It's a embracing the loss. It's trying to do the big thing in the face of a counter regardless. Sometimes you will get stomped into the dirt. Sometimes you will stomp others into the dirt. And sometimes that's okay. You need to learn to laugh at yourself. And I guess that's more of probably a comment toward myself than really any of you specific people, because I don't know you. Unless I do, in which, hey. But not only are you going to be a better Magic player and a better Commander player because you're helping the game out, you're helping things move along in a communal way. Your playgroup will also start looking to you to be more helpful. If you, like me, find yourself in a playgroup that runs far too little interaction, then playing counters in smart ways will allow you to have a new political tool. Right? The group, once they get used to counters being a normal, benign part of the game, will start to look to you for answers. They'll be like, hey, Andy, hey, do you have a counter for this? We can't deal with this. He's wiping the board. We've been here for an hour and a half. Can't you counter it? I'll be like, hey, man, I'm not playing blue today. But I got that right elemental blast. You know it. And, they'll use their resources to help you help them. They'll use their resources, their mana, their card draw to get you in a position where they can leverage you. And they'll owe you. They'll try to give you something in return for that counter that you are going to play anyway. And all of a sudden, cost of inclusion, especially for the large 5-mana counter spells, have a much less impact on deck building. They have a much more impact on how good people feel at the end of each game. If there's a little bit of a denial, if there's a little bit of, hey, we didn't just put our blocks in a tower and knock it over. If you don't play any counter spells, any removal, any board wipes, any interaction with, other people's stuff, any big spell automatically becomes overpowered. And those end up being the feel bad for the rest of the table. It ends up being like oh, I spent 9 mana, I win the game. And it's like, sure, but I was real close. And if I just had a counterspell, even at 5 mana, I could have won. Or, oh, well, there he goes playing Ruinous Ultimatum again. God, those are already powerful spells. If they're never going to be countered, the spells that don't say this can't be countered, now do. All this to say, counterspells may slow down the game. They may. But that actually may be a benefit to you. It may be a benefit to your playgroup. I don't mean like, oh, the game is now 12, 16, 20, 25 turns. I don't mean that. Like, it's not longer in that way. People will play more intentionally and therefore slower. And this sounds like a problem, but when you watch it happen, when people start taking turns where they're seeing different ways through their turn, it just feels better. I've had so many games between when I came back to Magic and when I was brought into the group that I'm playing now, where my opponents would just speed through their turns. They wouldn't like wait for the interaction. They would just do a thing and then do a thing and then do a thing, and it was like, whoa. Playing counter spells while slowing down the game, because people will be more open to the interaction, because, well, you're gonna get mad at them if they continue to just buzz right by. It feels less bad jumping in when the game slows down that way. And conversely, it won't feel so bad when you do have that counter spell up and you do intentionally not play it because you weren't forced out of not playing it. There's been so many times where I've been like, I really wanted to play this counterspell 3 cards ago, and now I feel bad about jumping in because you've played 3 more cards. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing this because of what you played after. I was gonna do it. So then I just hold the card for another round. But that won't happen anymore because everybody's taking a chill pill. Is that a thing people say? Anyway, alongside this comes this weird entitlement that some people have. And I've seen it with some players that their engines are final. And once they start going, they can't be interacted with. And if you do, you should be ashamed of yourself. And while I'm sure some of these players are well-intentioned and just trying to not take up a bunch of time, they're speeding through their turn, messing things up, incorrectly sequencing, and ultimately fumbling misplay after misplay, all while not slowing down to see if anybody wants priority, which frankly is against the rules. But we're in a casual format, a social format, and we should be free to talk and laugh and interact with each other and each other's boards. And honestly, like, skirting the rules with regards to timing and stuff is sometimes okay, right? It is a social format. We should be able to do take-backs. We should be able to just kind of, like, pick up the pace. If nobody's paying attention, just play your cards. No, but, like, it doesn't matter. But if I'm holding up counterspell and I'm paying attention and I want to counter your thing, I should be able to do that, not be skipped through. So if you start regularly countering things, those players will be forced to slow down. Think about what they're doing, in what order, and if they need to play around your counters. They're becoming better players because of you. And most of it has to do with the speed at which they're playing. If they're giving you the space to play your counters, or even anticipate your counters, they're paying attention to how they're playing. Counters are good. Now, as a bit of an aside, my favorite counter-adjacent interactions are the balance of X cannot be countered and the advent of ward costs. Spells that cannot be countered do not care about ward, as ward, say it with me, is a triggered ability that counters said spells and abilities. Also being fairly casual format, every once in a while you get to peek at a counter spell as your opponent will try to counter your uncounterable spell, and you state that it cannot be countered. You cannot counter my uncounterable spell. So we'll put it back in their hand. That said, I also love weird ward costs, and you cannot convince me that they are becoming too obscure. Get 5 poison counters? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I do wish that I had the guff enough to play by the rules with regard to ward in Commander, because it seems like that someone always forgets and then try to take it back and no one says anything, even though it should just be countered and go to their graveyard. But no, it goes back to their hand. What's up with that? Anyway, back to the topic. Also, there are clearly tiers of counters, right? Why are you using Force of Will in your tier 3 deck? Why aren't you using Access Denied or Gale's Redirection? I've talked about these spells. Why are you using the best of the best? Why are you using Mana Drain? Come on. Be creative. That's what's wrong with the format lately. Man yells at Cloud, Commander's not artistic enough. We're not being creative enough. Well, I am. You're not. You're using Mana Drain. You're spending $60 on a counter spell when I'm spending 40 cents and getting 30 tokens. I had a game the other day in my Prismari deck, right? Prismari is the OG Prismari. Comes down, makes a treasure. You can tap your artifacts, any of them, your tokens, your non-tokens, tap them to create a mana of any color, but can only be used on spells on instants and sorceries, right? So treasures are now essentially lands that for instants and sorceries. You just don't have to sacrifice them. It's great. I had Academy Manufactor down. Somebody in my play group played a 10 mana board wipe. Now they had a thing that reduced it. I think it was like, oh, this spell can be played for less, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's 10 mana. I had Academy Manufactor out. I played Spell Swindle, so I created 10 treasures, and also 10 food and 10 clues. Now, all of these are artifacts. So Prismari sees them as mana sources. So I had 30. How cool. If I had just played Mana Drain, I'd get 10 colorless mana in my upkeep. Or first main phase? I don't know. I don't play it. Play more interesting cards. Because what's going on in Commander right now is that with sets being made to cater to Commander, Commander is losing its spirit. What I mean by that is that this format was formed to put niche cards into your decks, cards that you had sitting in your boxes doing nothing, cards that are fairly unheard of, or cards that you haven't seen in years, or builds around certain, funny interactions. Finding new, different ways to break the game. Now, with more and more cards being Commander focused, they're going to be the best, right? They're going to be front and center. There's no hunt to it. There's no like, ooh, look at this little tiny hidden treasure. Nom, 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 nom. There's no, where would this card go? Or, hey, what the heck is that card? Can I see that? No, how does this work in this board state, huh? Do I need to call a judge over here? Do you know how this works? You know how that? Wow, that's crazy. Ha ha ha, right? All of that's a tangent. To the point of, it's all in service to make your self-driven Rube Goldberg machine. That's all Commander is now, right? It's the cards that they're previewing and releasing every 2 months in these new sets, and you're finding the best ones that fit your deck, even though everybody else also, God, I'm starting to sound like a hipster, but like that's what this format is finding these like weird things going on. You set it all up, and you just let it fly. Which, don't get me wrong, these new cards, a lot of fun. I love a lot of the like big wacky things. The Doctor Who Commander decks, amazing. A lot of the new mechanics, especially from Strixhaven, the like stuff from the original Strixhaven, ooh, so good. It's fun. It's fun to make the Rube Goldberg machine go brrrr, right? But it's not a 4-player game. You're playing a 1-player game, and 3 of your friends are there. It feels like cup stacking. Do you remember cup stacking? If you don't, you can guess what it is. It's a race and a bunch of shuffling noises. That's all this is. That's all Commander is, and that's all cup stacking is. Play more interaction. Interaction, including, and maybe mainly, counters, give a complexity to the game where it makes you slow down and possibly look to the player across from you and go, hey, this is going to seem really scary. It's going to seem like I'm going to do a big thing, and I am. But I need you to trust me. Jules over there, they're a bigger threat. I need both of us. I need both of us to keep our eye on the target. Please, oh please, don't counter this. And if you have a deal, great. Otherwise, you're still going to do the thing, right? You're going to play into that counter. And if they counter it, that's up to them. But you had the choice. You got to choose. You got to interact. You got to consider the 300 other cards on the table. And now that I'm hearing it, maybe that number's a little bit more overwhelming than I had realized. All of this to say, counter spells are important. Interaction's important. It makes the game exciting. It doesn't make it go, oh, I just didn't draw the thing on turn 7. And now I have to wait because now I only have 2 cards in my hand. And now I'm just pissed off at myself, which honestly is the way it should be. But there are 3 other people at the table most of the time. What are you doing if you're not interacting with any of them? You're not playing a 4-player game. But anyway. You know, it's funny. One of our first episodes recorded, it never got put out, was how much we hate the color blue. And looking back on it, maybe it's a bit of a cliche. Maybe it's a bit of... But we never released it because we realized we were just being foolish. And now that it's 6 years later, I'm feeling better about this topic. Maybe because it's because I play more blue. Maybe it's because I understand the complexity of just countering things that need to be countered rather than just countering things. But tell me your favorite counter spells. Tell me your favorite story of when you countered a big thing, or oh wow, the best part is having a counter war. You counter a thing, they counter it back. They counter your thing, you counter the other thing. Whirlwind denial, everything gets countered. It's a wild game, and we really need to embrace the complexity. We need to embrace the underplayed cards. I know none of the cards that I mentioned today are specifically underplayed, but if you have the choice between Mana Drain, maybe I should use a different example. If you have a choice between Cancel, a 3-mana, blue, a single, generic mana, counter target spell, and say Spell Swindle, I'm assuming you're using Spell Swindle. Because it's more fun. And that's why you play this game, to do the fun thing. Anyway, I'm going to get going. Maybe I'll do another episode about removal. Maybe I'll do an episode about, stealing. Theft. That's a good one. I should remember that one. But hey, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you press that follow button. Subscribe button? Make sure you press that subscribe button. Also press like. Maybe put a comment down below. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, give us a comment, rate us, follow us, do whatever you need to do. Please interact with us. That's going to do it for our show this week. We will be back, probably the both of us, next week. Because we're Temple of Falsepod, where decks are not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy. Bruce isn't here. Play some magic for me. Play some interaction for me. And may your fifth land be the temple. Bye! Wait. Before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. You can reach out to us via email at falsepodmtg@gmail.com or bluesky@falsepodmtg. Bruce is at Manaburned, and I'm at Andy Weekend, though you'll definitely notice I use the podcast Twitter far more often. Now that we've got you here, make sure you subscribe, like, rate us on whatever podcast platform you use. It helps us out. It gets us more reach. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like a video there. Leave some comments for more casual enjoyment. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with some more timeless discussions about all things casual. So come hang out, and may your fifth land be the temple. Bye-bye. Should I do my best, Bruce? Bye!